Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Moyna Bass Fishers. I am Jim Moyna, the official hook sharpener of Moyna Bass Fishers operations. All right, in this video, I'd like to talk about the full moon and the bass spawn. What I'm going to say is really contrary to what's popularly spread and believed, but after all these years of fishing multiple spawning seasons, so I'm 59 years old and been doing this forever, I don't really see a correlation between the full moon and a wave of bass hitting the spawning beds. Now, this concept is so widely accepted and populated amongst bass fishermen. I mean, it's like almost a given for everybody, but I just don't buy into it because I've just seen so many tournaments over the years. March tournaments, April tournaments, May tournaments, and in June, starting in the south, that's when the bass start spawning. Well, Florida might be the one exception, because those fish are spawning all the time. I mean, almost practically year round in South Florida, especially. But once you get north of Florida, so Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and then all the way to New York, Michigan, Minnesota, they start spawning in March, except Florida. Florida, they start spawning before that. But March, then it goes April, May, then in the north where I'm at, in northern Minnesota, for example, it'll be June. So I've seen this so many times, and they don't care about the moon. They really don't. It all comes down to water temperature. When the water temperature is right, that's when you see the fish come in. And when I mean right, you need, if you want to see a wave of spawning fish come in, you need that water temperature to climb out of the 50s and into the 60s. And if you can do that multiple days in a row, where the water temperature is in the 50s, then the next day maybe it's high 50s, the next day it's 60, 61, the next day it's 62, 63. That's just inviting all kinds of spawning fish to hit the bank. And it has nothing to do with the full moon. I've seen this happen during the new moon, quarter moons, crescent moons. I've seen it during the full moon. The fish don't really care about the full moon. It's all about the temperature and the trend of what's happening. Now, if you get into the low 60s and a big front comes through, you might see fish abandon their beds. Even though the full moon's like coming a few days later, if that front comes through and knocks the water temperatures down a few degrees, and you got the full moon like coming like in a day or two, that ain't gonna matter. It's that water temperature overrides anything the moon's doing. I'm gonna just say the moon has no impact. The only place where I might give a bit on that is in Florida, where those fish are just spawning all the time. I mean, especially in South Florida, they'll be spawning in November, December, January, February, March, April. I mean, this is what Florida pros tell me anyways. So, and they really bank on the moon there. So, I don't know. Maybe the Florida subspecies is different and they are more moon dependent. I don't know. That's the only place where I'll budge on this. But north of there, you got to have the right warming. You got to have the right warming trend coming in, and you need to have stability in that warming trend. And the moon has nothing to do with it. It's all about the weather trend and warming water conditions. If you don't have that, I mean, if you don't have that, you're just not going to have much of a spawn going on. They'll wait. And water levels actually probably have more of a impact on spawning than the moon. If you got a fishery that's just in wildly flux, you know, whether it's rapidly rising or rapidly falling, the fish just aren't ready to bed yet. They want that stability. So they want, number one, stability and increasing water temperatures. And then two would be the stability in water levels. And I'm not going to put the moon on the list, because don't even pay attention to it. It don't matter. I mean, I look at there's other, you know what's really a marker for the bass spawn? Now, dogwood trees don't grow everywhere, but in those areas where they do grow, Rick Clun told me a long time ago, like my first or second year as a pro, he told me, watch for those dogwood blooms. And I've watched for it every year since. And that is a really good marker for indicating whether or not there's bass on the beds. So become familiar with the dogwood tree and keep an eye on it, because that's a great indicator. If you see blooming dogwoods, there's some bass spawning somewhere in the lake. So anyways, that's about all I got to say. With the bass spawn coming soon, already probably happening, well, certainly happening in Florida, but we're on the verge of it. So because what is it? It's like February 27th or 28th right now. So we are on the cusp of it starting in the South. Except Florida. They probably already started in Florida. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. And laugh at me all you want for poo-pooing the moon, but I've seen it too many years. Over.